Anxiety is often seen as an unavoidable part of our life. But what if we have simply trained our minds? Could it be that it's our habit? We have trained our minds to become anxious, to worry. And then can we train our minds to do the opposite? In the book, How to Be Your Own Therapist, the author Owen O'Kane, he says, anxiety doesn't mean you're broken. It means that your brain has been practicing the wrong response for too long. So it is just another habit. And like habits, we can unlearn it. It's not easy to unlearn a habit and build a new one. But let's go step by step into how we can improve the feeling of worry, anxiety all the time. The first step is to recognize that anxiety is simply a habit. It's not a personality trait. We often hear people say that, I'm just an anxious person. I'm feeling anxious all the time. But acknowledging that it's not a part of our personality, we can unlearn it. We can practice a different habit. In the book Unwinding Anxiety, the author explains, our brains learn anxiety the same way they learn any other habit, through a trigger, a behavior, and a reward. The trigger is stress, the behavior is worrying, and the reward is the illusion of control. Understanding is the first step. If we have learned anxiety, we need to unlearn it, and we can unlearn it. Anxiety also becomes addictive. When we know that worrying constantly is not going to help, why do we keep worrying then? The answer is in our brain's chemistry. Anxiety, it creates a sense of urgency. It floods our bodies with stress hormones. And over time, our brain gets conditioned to expect this, to want this. In the book Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, the author Dr. Joe Dispenza says that people become addicted to their emotions. They live in a cycle of worry, doubt, and fear, and their bodies get used to this biochemical rush of stress. The way we can break this habit is to rewire our brain, rewire its response to stress. When we start feeling anxious, it's a good idea to pause for a few seconds and ask yourself this question. Is this worrying actually helping me? If my friend had such a thought, what would I tell her? And is this thought based on facts, or is it just my fear talking? This pause disrupts the automatic wiring that the brain has, and it trains the brain to process this stress differently. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not on the outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." And the same thing has been said over and over in different ways. In the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the author Stephen Covey talks about a circle of influence, or a sphere of influence, I think it's called, which basically says that there are certain areas where we have control and certain areas where we don't. So we may not have power or authority over outside events, but we certainly have power over our own mind. One of the strongest habits when we get anxiety is to avoid difficult conversations, avoid decisions, or even avoid responding to emails. What's the best way we can rewire our responses? Well, we can try taking the opposite action. If the anxiety says, "Don't speak up in this meeting," say something small. If it says, "Don't make that phone call," then it's better to just start dialing the number before the brain convinces us otherwise. If the brain says, "Stay in your comfort zone," take one small step outside it. In the book, The 5-Second Rule, the author emphasizes the power of action. You are just one decision away from a totally different life. So start a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and do it before your brain stops you. The more action you take despite the anxiety, the weaker its hold becomes on us. Overcoming anxiety isn't about eliminating the fear overnight. It's about training your brain with small and consistent wins. In the book, The Atomic Habits, the author James Clear says, every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become. If you want to be calm, act in small ways that reinforce calmness. Instead of saying, I will stop being anxious, set small goals, micro goals. I will take 3 deep breaths before responding to stress. Or, I will write down my worries instead of overthinking. Or, I will challenge one anxious thought every day. Each small win creates a new habit, one that will replace anxiety eventually with confidence. Anxiety isn't just mental, it is also physical. You can reduce it by engaging in habits that lower the stress hormones. Breathwork is very powerful. Slow, deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms the body. Try this. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 7. And exhale for 8. I won't do it now because you might clock off, but feel free to pause it and try this. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and exhale for 8 seconds. Exercise also helps greatly in regulating the cortisol, and it increases serotonin, which is a natural mood stabilizer. Writing down your thoughts, worries, things that are causing this anxiety. In other words, journaling. It's so popular these days. And along with journaling, gratitude is also very popular, but also very powerful. It basically helps shift the focus from fear to appreciation. Breaking the anxiety habit isn't about eliminating stress. It's about changing how we respond to it. I'll go back once again to author Owen O'Kane, who wrote the book How to Be Your Own Therapist. He says, you are not your anxious thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. And the observer has the power to choose a different response. If anxiety is a habit, calmness can be too. And every small step you take is a step toward peace.